Welcome to Grow Joyfully. It seems as if a couple of chickens have laid eggs and they're so proud of themselves. And the rooster is cheering them on. Today, for right now anyway, I'm going to be out in the pasture garden. I've got to plant 10 more tomatoes. Sorry about the racket in the background, but they're just welcoming you in. Welcome to Grow Joyfully. So right now I'm putting down some more weed fabric. Because here's the difference without and then with weed fabric. So we cut little slits and put it right up to the neck of the tomato plants, and it just helps so much. Some of the new tomato plants I planted did not make it through the heat, even though I hardened them off, because we've had some extreme heat, like 100 degrees, and it's just too hard for them to get established, even though I'm planting them in the morning and in the shade right now. So let's get some of this weed fabric down because it looks so much better. So I use 3 pieces of the weed fabric and make sure that they overlap each other so weeds cannot get up. So if you just start with this row here and you cover up the staples, just pull those staples up and use them on the top, then you don't use too many staples. Now we're going to cut some slits here in the weed fabric and fit them around the tomato plants. Just make a slit where the tomato plant is. Make sure we get the tag up and fit it around the tomato plant. And then I staple it right here. To just use one hand and get it all done, but I make sure this is overlapped here. The only place that we have that's open is where the tomato root goes down into the ground, because we just have to keep those weeds away. Added a staple right here. And then I'm going to make sure there's enough room to put in the tag, although the tag is fading and I'm going to go right on it first. Try to remember to write the name of the tomato on both sides for 2 reasons. One is so that I can see it from both directions, and 2 is in case it wears off on one side or the other. I also have the varieties written in my notebook, which cattle panel, because I've numbered them all, and where each tomato sits. So if something dies, if I lose the tag, then I'll be able to know who is what. When they do grow up and mature, sometimes you can tell, sometimes you cannot. Because the pineapple, the old German, and I think, I always get this wrong, I think it's Kellogg's Breakfast, are very similar. And if you were to look at their 3 fruits, it might be very difficult to be able to tell them apart. I was tying up these tomatoes here, and I'm going to tie up these tomatoes and probably have to go back to the main garden to get that tomato in before it gets too hot. You can see the difference with the black plastic compared to this. We haven't got the black plastic down here yet, and it's just totally unmanageable. So I'm going to get these tomatoes tied up very quickly, and then I have to go plant that really tall sun gold cherry in the main garden. I'm going to remove the suckers from this plant. This is a Thorburns terracotta. So here's a sucker right here. Here's one here. And what you have to do is, this plant is already split off into 2 different plants. So you have to trace the original leader up. And since they have all melded together, that's going to be difficult. So I'm just going to have to use my own judgment. And so there's about 4 main leaders or branches. So I'm just going to have to use my own judgment. I'm going to take this one. Actually, there's 5. There's one there. I'm going to take this one. And we've got some blossoms there, so I do want to be careful. Okay, I think this is one that grew later. So that one's gone. Oh, it's really hard to decide between these 2. But since this one here has the blossoms, this one here is going to go. because you can let the tomatoes grow. You can let them have all their branches, not take off their suckers, but they won't set big tomatoes. And that's my goal here, is to have big tomatoes. So I've cut it down to 1 main liter. I'm going to tie it up. I might remove a few of these leaves down here. And over here on this one too, I'm going to remove a couple of lower leaves and tie it up. And then take out the suckers, like this one right here. Like I said, you can leave them, but you will most definitely get smaller fruit. So it's my advice to you to keep them trimmed up, keep them tied up really well, fertilize them well if you want really big tomatoes. Thanks for stopping by today and coming along with me as I put down some weed fabric and trim some tomato. We'll see you on the next video.